Tell you what got me off soda. There's a sparkling water here in the States. You find it at Target or whatever. It's called La Croix.
Okay.
Incredible. It's flavored, you know?
Okay, so it's not
like
as bad.
You ever had the Perrier grapefruit or whatever? Once you start getting a taste of that, soda is almost too sweet, you know?
Good. We'll not do the too sweet, but
yeah.
I am with Sami Zayn. It's Summerslam Weekend. It's great to see you here.
We're talking sparkling water.
Because that's what lads do. I want to ask you first of all about WrestleMania weekend. I get the match against Nakamura because I think that a lot of people are saying that was the match of the weekend. You know, people have a real attachment to that. And I saw you in an earlier interview say that you're still getting tweets about it. But there was a shot during the beginning of that match when Nakamura's making his entrance and the camera cuts to you.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there watching his entrance. And it looked like there was so many things going through your head, like so many emotions.
Yeah.
It's your last night in NXT. You're seeing Nakamura here. You're going to be on WrestleMania. Like, what was that like that night, that weekend for you?
A lot of it you just captured there. You know, it was a lot of mixed emotions, and you know, I think part of it knowing that it was probably going to be my last match in NXT, and also knowing what we were about to do. I knew when my music hit and I heard the response, I thought, well, this is great, you know, because I'm always, especially when I first came back from the shoulder surgery, anytime, especially in NXT, because NXT, you know, we're doing all these out-of-state shows. But, you know, something happens to you as a performer when you're gone, and it happens to the best of performers. You know, Triple H has said this, Randy Orton has said this. No matter how big you are, and I'm not putting myself on their level, but in NXT, you know, I was one of those top guys, and no matter how big you are, when you are gone for a little bit of time, there's always this self-doubt when you come back.
Yeah.
Like, God, will they still care about me? Like, so much has happened since I've been gone. They probably forgot about me, all these things. So when I first came back from shoulder surgery, every night when we do these out-of-state shows, my music would hit, or when we did that England tour, it was my first tour back from shoulder surgery, my music would hit and I'd get these enormous reactions, and I couldn't believe it. Mm-hmm. Every night I was surprised. You would, you know, every single night I was like, oh, God, I don't know. My music would hit. I'd hear these screams and go like, oh, wow. All right. And then suddenly, you know, it feels pretty good. So when I came out of TakeOver, I got this great response, which was just incredible. And then part of the reason that shot, when they filmed me, was a very genuine reaction. It wasn't just, you know, Nakamura's music hit. People were going so crazy that I was almost laughing out loud because I was just thinking, oh my God, we're about to tear the roof off this place. It's going to be so easy because these fans are so into, you know, they're really into me and they're so into him. This is going to be like, you know, fish in a barrel.
Yeah.
And I was just having fun with it because it was so fun. The response was just so good.
It sounds cheesy, but it felt like the crowd was really connected to the
They
match.
were so ready to have fun that it just made me laugh and just enjoy. I could enjoy what I was about to do. And knowing that it was like probably my last match in NXT, but also the biggest NXT show we've ever done. Oh, it was great, man. It was just great. It was so fun.
And then obviously, I think
it was just fun. No pressure. Just I knew what I was going to do. I knew it was going to be great. It was great. I loved it. I loved every second of it. You know, sometimes even if you're doing something great, you're in your own head about something. Mm-hmm. But this was really just loose and able to enjoy the moment. I think that's part of it.
And I think, you know, at WrestleMania this year, you were involved in the ladder match. I think a lot of people were hoping that maybe it'd be you and Kevin one-on-one at WrestleMania. Obviously, you've kind of your rivalry's kind of finished for now from Battleground. Yeah. But is that still something that you would like to do at like a WrestleMania? You
absolutely.
And him?
I don't think this was the right time for it. You know, I think the people that did think that wanted to see it, I think it might have been a little premature for it. And I think those are people who are diehard fans of his and I, or maybe our story, or just people that know our back history. But you got to understand that WrestleMania is the biggest show of the year, and I had only really gotten called up maybe 4 weeks prior to that. Mm-hmm. I mean, when I actually stayed on Raw, because I'd done Raw in like 2013, 2014, 2015, and every year I'd been on Raw a little bit, but I hadn't stuck around.
Yeah.
So the first time I stuck around was really, I think, March 7th in Chicago. You know, WrestleMania was less than a month away. So it was a little premature to have a singles match because to a lot of the WWE universe and our fan base, they don't really know the whole story.
It'd be hard to build that whole story in less than a month.
Yeah. So, you know, it wasn't time. And now they've gotten to see a little more, and we've gotten to kind of really have some exciting matches and hopefully get people emotionally invested in our matches and in our story, but also in he and I think will be bigger and bigger stars and be more in people's hearts as the years go on. So if it's maybe next year or the year after or a couple years down the road, they'll care 10 times more. And that's when it'll be the right time. It wasn't the right time this year. But I'm glad that it was still there. We're still in the same match, and the story was still there, but it wasn't just that, So it's all been perfect. It's all been great.
And obviously now with the brand split, you're on Raw, and there's not a match scheduled at SummerSlam for you, but Bray Wyatt didn't have a match at WrestleMania, and he was featured in one of the biggest segments on the show. So I guess for you, sort of looking now at post brand split, time for Sami Zayn, where do you kind of see yourself going? Is there somewhere that you would like to go in terms of a direction?
Yeah. I mean, I've said this a lot, but since the match at Battleground, since finally putting that chapter to rest with Kevin, so much of my mental and physical energy went into that I almost didn't know what to do with myself as soon as it was done. And all of a sudden SummerSlam's there, and if you're not figured in 3 weeks before SummerSlam, chances are you're not going to be in anything too significant. And it's such a loaded show. It's really one of the biggest shows of the year. I mean, really the biggest after WrestleMania. So just off the top of my head, 2 world title matches, U.S. title, Intercontinental title, tag teams, women's, and Randy and Brock, and now that's 7 matches right there. And they're all blockbuster matches, So you can't, you just can't get everyone on there. I'd like to be on there. If I'm not, it's not the end of the world. I'll be on the next one. But just generally going forward, I'd like to move forward. That's exactly it. I want to use that momentum from that rivalry with Kevin and that match with Kevin to go on to, the next step and be in that main event scene with guys like Seth and Roman and even Brock and, Rusev for the U.S. title. And just I want to be figured in that top spot because I know I can carry my weight in that position. But I guess it's a matter of proving it to not only the fans, but to Vince McMahon and to Stephanie McMahon and to Mick Foley, and just proving myself. It's been the story of my career. Just got to keep proving myself.
It's funny you mention that because one of the things that I always hear is comparisons with you and Daniel Bryan as the underdog. And is that a nice thing for you to hear that you're compared to him, or would you rather kind of shake that off and be the first Sami Zayn rather than be compared to Daniel Bryan from the underdog perspective?
I think there's similarities, and I'm even honored that there are similarities because I have a lot of admiration for him professionally and personally. He's a good friend and a great guy, but professionally, I feel like I need to write a big... when he first retired, I really was tempted to write this big, almost, not like a eulogy, but a tribute to his career, because really, my entire career was spent chasing him. Even on the independents, I was like, I always tried to get to his level. And I don't know that I ever will. He was really, really great, really one of the best ever. But there are similarities in our personalities, I guess, and in our demeanor, just being low-key, kind of regular-ish guys who are, fighting from underneath and whatever. There's some similarities, but ultimately I don't think that anyone's going to look at me and be thinking to themselves, oh, well, he's just a cheap Daniel Bryan ripoff. I still think I'll be the first Sami Zayn. I just think there are some similarities to Daniel Bryan, and to me that's a compliment and an honor. So, it's not something I think about too much. I have received some comparisons, but I view it as a good thing, but as you said, no one wants to be linked completely to someone else. So he's different, I'm different. I'm sure we'll be recognized as different once it's all said and done.
100%. Last question. We started this interview talking about NXT Takeover at WrestleMania weekend. You're now obviously not in NXT anymore, but they've got a big show coming up this weekend.
That's right.
What is the match you think could steal the show or will steal the show?
My money's on Shinsuke Nakamura versus Joe, and that's the match that I'm most interested in seeing. I know there's Bayley and Asuka having a rematch. That'll be great, I'm sure. And the tag team title match, I know the Revival, they've got a real chip on their shoulder about proving themselves too, so I'm sure that'll be good. There's a lot. Takeovers are always good. There hasn't been a bad one. They're all great. But for me, Shinsuke and Joe is the money match, and that's a match I want to see.
You heard it here first. One of Raw's most popular superstars, Sami Zayn. We'll see you soon.